Think about someone who passed you, maybe last year, maybe 5 years ago. Someone who worked less than you, knew less than you, but somehow ended up further than you. You told yourself it was luck. You told yourself it wasn't fair. But here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. The world doesn't reward the most honest person in the room. It rewards the most strategic one. Not the loudest, not the hardest working, not the most qualified, the most strategic. And if no one ever taught you what that means, this video is what you've been missing. Today we're going into 8 psychological principles that separate people who get what they want from people who wonder why they never did. These aren't motivational phrases. These are behavioral mechanics, backed by decades of research in psychology, negotiation science, and human behavior. But before we go in, I need to be clear about something. This knowledge is a weapon, and like every weapon, the intention behind it changes everything. What you're about to learn is not how to manipulate people. It's how to stop being manipulated by them. Not how to gain power over others, but how to gain power over yourself. That's the difference between someone dangerous and someone dangerously smart. Welcome to Mind Vault Theory. Let's open the vault. Lesson 1. Calculated opacity. In 1927, a Russian psychologist named Bluma Zeigarnik noticed something unusual while sitting in a Viennese cafe. Waiters could remember every detail of an unfinished order, perfectly. But the moment the food was delivered, the order was gone from their memory, completely. What she discovered became one of the most replicated findings in cognitive psychology. The brain obsessively holds on to unfinished things. Completed loops get archived. Open loops stay active, running in the background, demanding attention. Now think about how most people communicate. Someone asks about their weekend plans. They say, "Oh, I'm just staying home, maybe watching some movies." Complete transparency, full closure, instantly forgettable. The strategically intelligent person says, "I have something important to take care of," then changes the subject. Notice what just happened. The first answer closes the loop. The second one leaves it open. And the brain, the other person's brain, will keep returning to it, involuntarily. This isn't about lying. It's not about being cold or secretive. It's about understanding that mystery creates attention, and attention creates influence. The most intriguing people you've ever met, the ones you couldn't stop thinking about, they never told you everything. They revealed just enough to keep you engaged, and held back just enough to keep you curious. Most people believe that transparency builds trust, and in many cases, it does. But there's a version of transparency that becomes self-sabotage. When you explain every motivation, reveal every plan, and answer every question completely, you become predictable. And predictable people are controllable people. Think of your information as currency. The person who spends it all at once goes broke. The person who knows when to spend and when to save is the one who stays powerful. Lesson 2. The fluid identity. In 1974, social psychologist Mark Snyder published research on what he called self-monitoring, the ability to read a social environment and adjust your behavior accordingly. His findings were striking. People with high self-monitoring abilities consistently rose into leadership positions faster, built stronger professional networks, and outperformed their peers in negotiations. Not because they were smarter, because they were more adaptable. Most people approach every conversation the same way. Same energy, same tone, same style. And then they wonder why they connect with some people and completely miss with others. The answer isn't that those people are difficult to connect with. The answer is that you were speaking the wrong language. Think about water. Water takes the shape of whatever container holds it. In a cup, it becomes a cup. In a river, it flows, but it never stops being water. Its essential nature never changes. The fluid identity works exactly the same way. With an analytical person, You speak in data and logic. You show your work. You back your claims. With an emotional person, you lead with connection. You acknowledge feelings before facts. With a visionary, you paint the big picture. You speak in possibility. With a pragmatist, you skip the vision and go straight to, here's how it works. Same core message, different frequency. This isn't manipulation. This is communication intelligence. You're not changing what you believe. You're changing how you deliver it, so the other person can actually receive it. But here's the warning that matters. Adapt your presentation. Never adapt your values. A diamond has many facets, but it's still one solid stone. The moment you start adjusting your principles to fit the room, you've stopped adapting. You've started disappearing. Lesson 3. Strategic Independence. In 1981, Harvard negotiators Roger Fisher and William Ury introduced a concept that changed the way professionals think about power in negotiation. They called it BATNA, Best Alternative to a Negotiated Agreement. The idea is simple. Before any negotiation, ask yourself one question. If this deal falls apart, what do I do next? The strength of your answer is the strength of your position. Full stop. Because here's what Fisher and Ury observed. In almost every negotiation they studied, the person with the weaker alternative gave more ground. Not because they were less intelligent, not because they made worse arguments, because they needed the deal more. And need is the most visible thing in any room. Most people walk into important conversations, job interviews, relationship discussions, business deals, already attached to the outcome. They've already imagined it working, already planned around it, already emotionally committed. And that attachment, invisible as it feels, radiates. The other person senses it and adjusts their leverage accordingly. Strategic independence is not coldness. It is not indifference. It is the discipline of wanting something without needing it. You can care. Caring is fine. Caring is even good. But the moment I want this becomes, I can't afford to lose this, you've already lost something more important. Before your next high-stakes conversation, ask yourself honestly, if this doesn't work, what are my options? Then build those options. Strengthen that alternative. Not because you want to walk away, but because walking away needs to feel survivable. The most dangerous person in any negotiation is the one with nothing to lose. But the most powerful person is the one who has everything and fears losing none of it. Lesson 4. Silent Leverage. Columbia Business School professor Adam Galinsky has spent years studying the behavioral signals of power. One of his most consistent findings, people who behave as though they hold power, even before they formally do, tend to accumulate it faster than those who wait to be granted it. Power is not given, it is communicated. And one of the most powerful things you can communicate is silence. Most people are afraid of silence in conversation. They fill it immediately. They rush to answer. They over-explain. They volunteer information nobody asked for. And in that rush, they hand over control of the conversation without realizing it. The next time someone asks you a difficult question, don't answer immediately. Pause. Look at them. Let 3 full seconds pass. Then respond. 3 seconds feels like an eternity in conversation. And in that eternity, something shifts. You stop appearing reactive. You start appearing deliberate. Your words carry more weight because you didn't scatter them. In negotiation, silent leverage means you don't need to announce your alternatives. You simply need to be willing to walk away. The willingness communicates itself. In relationships, personal and professional, silent leverage means being the person who consistently adds value without asking for recognition. You don't announce what you bring. People simply begin to notice when you're not there. Silent leverage requires patience. It doesn't produce immediate results. It produces something better, lasting influence. Most people want to be seen right now. They want the room to know what they're worth, immediately. The strategically intelligent person understands that timing is everything. They plant seeds, they wait, and when the moment arrives, the harvest is undeniable. Lesson 5. The Psychological Echo. Carl Rogers, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, built his entire therapeutic philosophy around a single discovery. The deepest transformations in human beings don't happen through technique. They happen through feeling genuinely understood. Not heard, not advised, understood. This insight has since been confirmed across fields, in negotiation research, in sales psychology, in leadership studies, in conflict resolution. The principle is the same everywhere. People don't respond to your ideas, they respond to how you make them feel about themselves. Here's what this looks like in practice. Someone tells you, "I hate my job." Most people immediately offer advice. Have you thought about looking for something new? What field are you interested in? But listen deeper. When someone says, "I hate my job," what are they actually saying? Maybe, "I work hard and nobody notices." Maybe, "I've stopped growing and I can feel it." Maybe, "I don't know who I am outside of this role anymore." The psychological echo reflects back what's underneath the words. It sounds like you're giving a lot and not feeling like it's landing anywhere. It seems like you're ready for something that actually challenges you. Watch what happens when you say that. The person goes quiet. Their posture changes. Their eyes shift. Yes, exactly that. That moment, that recognition, is more powerful than any argument you could make. Because you didn't try to change their mind, you showed them that you understood it. Every person you meet is silently asking 3 questions. Do you see me? Do you understand me? Do you value me? The person who can answer yes to all 3, without asking for permission, without demanding anything in return, that person becomes the most trusted presence in any room they walk into. Lesson 6. Pragmatic Ethics. Developmental psychologist Lawrence Kohlberg spent decades mapping how human moral reasoning evolves. He found that most adults operate at a conventional level, following rules because the rules exist, avoiding harm because it's wrong. But the highest level of moral development, what Kohlberg called post-conventional reasoning, looks different. It asks not, what are the rules, but what outcome actually serves the most people? The real world is almost never black and white, and the people who treat it as though it is tend to make decisions that look clean but produce damage. Here's an example. Someone on your team has been consistently lying to clients, not dramatically, subtly. The instinctively kind response is to give them another chance, offer more training, hope they improve. But ask yourself, who pays for that kindness? The clients who were misled, the teammates who have been watching, the organization that absorbs the erosion of trust. Sometimes the action that looks harsh on the surface produces a better outcome for the most people. Sometimes the action that looks kind enables the very thing it's trying to prevent. Pragmatic ethics doesn't ask, does this make me look good? It asks, does this produce the right outcome for the most people over the long term? This is not moral flexibility. This is moral precision. The crucial boundary. There are things you will never do, lines you will not cross regardless of the reasoning. Know those lines. Name them. Hold them absolutely. Inside those lines, be strategic. Be pragmatic. Be willing to make the uncomfortable call. That combination, clear values plus strategic judgment, is what makes a person both trustworthy and effective. Not one or the other. Both. Lesson 7. Controlled Exposure. In 1994, behavioral economist George Loewenstein published what is now considered the foundational theory of curiosity. His central argument? Curiosity emerges when we become aware of a gap between what we know and what we want to know. The brain doesn't chase information it already has. It chases information it suspects is there, but can't yet reach. This has a direct implication for how you present yourself. The person who shares everything immediately, every thought, every plan, every detail about their life, creates no gap. There's nothing left to discover, nothing to pull the other person back. The person who shares selectively, who reveals enough to engage but holds back enough to intrigue, activates that gap.